All right, thank you guys. Happy Friday to you, and welcome to our NBA video here today for Friday, April 9th. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. Now, guys, we're coming off our third straight winning day on my Patreon website, and that's going to put us at 3-1 in our last four board member tier package picks on that Patreon page. We're also a perfect 3-0 in our last three $1.99 daily best plays on that Patreon site as well. Now, we currently have over 1,250 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally, link for that Patreon page is in the description section below. Once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and dive into some Friday action here in the NBA. Once again, happy Friday to you. The weekend is finally here. And we're going to start with the Pacers taking on the Magic, 7 o'clock Eastern start time in Orlando. The Indiana Pacers are -4.5, totals 219 flat. Now, to most, this looks like a very good spot to back the Pacers. Having said that, though, Indiana may have to go to work without their two leading scorers. Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis both are listed as questionable with lower body injuries. Meanwhile, Miles Turner has also been ruled as out with an ankle. The Pacers have really done a poor job covering the number, even at full strength. They're just 3-6 against the number in their last 9 ball games. And they currently rank in the bottom 3 in the league in offensive rebounding. Now, the Pacers' big problem this season has been their defense. They're in the bottom 10 defensively in points allowed, bottom 10 in defending the three ball. And yep, you guessed it, they do have rebounding problems on the defensive end as well. Bottom 10 in defensive rebounding on the road. Now they're taking on an Orlando team who's probably going to be able to out-rebound them. The Magic's in the top 10 in home offensive rebounding, and despite their disgraceful record, Orlando's actually done a really nice job covering the point spread. They're 6-2 against the number in their last 8 ball games. Now, Terrence Ross is scoring over 16 points a game, 3.5 rebounds and a couple assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, Wendell Carter Jr. is averaging just about a dozen a game himself with the Magic. And one more surprising thing about Orlando, maybe not many people know about, they're actually in the top 10 defensively in fewest third-quarter points allowed. Now, total-wise, Orlando saw games with the Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets, and Celtics stay under the line recently. Meanwhile, 3 out of Indiana's last 5 stayed under the total themselves. 4-3 to the under in their last 7. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Orlando Magic plus 4.5 and the under 219. Next ball game, it is going to be Timberwolves versus the Celtics, 7:30 p.m. Eastern tip-off. The Boston Celtics are -8.5, totals 228. Now, in my opinion here, guys, Boston isn't playing well enough this season to lay this many points. They failed to cover the number in their last 2 straight, just 2-4 against the spread in their last 6. Now, the Celtics don't defend well late in games. They're in the bottom 10 defensively in fourth-quarter points allowed. Now, the Boston Celtics also have a losing record against the spread overall for this season. They're taking on a Minnesota squad who, believe it or not, they've been pretty good against the number recently. Out of their last 8 contests, they actually successfully covered the number in 5 of them. They're also in the top 3 in the entire NBA in fourth-quarter scoring, really doing a nice job putting up points late. And, of course, that's a good sign for those catching the 8.5 with Minnesota. Always a possibility of a backdoor cover there. Now, Karl Anthony Towns is scoring over 24.5 points per contest, 11 boards, 4.5 assists for the big center. Meanwhile, D'Angelo Russell's back in action, feeling healthy. He's scoring nearly 20 a game himself, along with 2 rebounds and 5 assists. Now, in addition to scoring well late in games, the Timberwolves also rank in the top 3 in the NBA in second-quarter scoring on the road. Now, total-wise, 4 out of Minnesota's last 6 stayed under the line. They're also 60% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Boston is 7-0 to the under in their last 7 straight, 16-10 to the under at the Garden. I'm going to lean toward The Minnesota Timberwolves plus 8.5 and the under 228. Next ball game, it is going to be Grizzlies versus the Knicks, 7:30 East. Now the Memphis Grizzlies are minus 1.5, numbers 216. The Grizzlies are currently on a 4-game winning streak, 7-3 straight up in their last 10. And even more impressive than that, the Grizzlies have been absolute covering machines, certainly cashing in for the backers lately. They've gone 9-1 against the spread in their last 10. Now Memphis has played really well when traveling this season. They're 14-9 straight up away from their home court. And they successfully covered the point spread in over 65% of those contests. Ja Morant scoring 18 points per game, 3.5 rebounds and 7 assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, Dillon Brooks is scoring 16 a night himself, 2 rebounds, couple assists for Brooks. The Memphis Grizzlies have scored very well when traveling this season. They're actually in the top 5 in the entire NBA in road scoring. And they also rank in the top 5 in road offensive field goal percentage. Now they're taking on a Knicks team who, well, they're on a 2-game losing streak themselves. And they've also dropped 5 out of their last 6 ball games. Now, the New York Knicks have had significant problems getting on the scoreboard. They're actually in the bottom 3 in offensive points per contest. They're in the bottom 10 in offensive field goal percentage at home as well. New York's averaging only 104 points a game. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, New York did see 2 out of their last 3 get over the number. They're also 6-1 to the over against the Southwest Division. Meanwhile, on the Memphis side, their last 2 straight got over the line themselves, 70% to the over in their last 10. The Grizzlies are also 15-8 to the over away from home. I'm going to lean toward the Memphis Grizzlies minus 1.5 and the over 216. Next ball game, it is going to be Sixers versus the Pelicans, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. The Philadelphia 76ers are minus 6, totals 228.5. Phillies won 3 out of their last 4 ball games, 7-3 straight up in their last 10. The Sixers have done a real nice job under the boards this season. Top 5 in offensive rebounding, top 5 in defensive rebounding on the road. Now Joel Embiid scoring nearly 30 a night, 11 rebounds, 3 assists for the big center. Meanwhile, Tobias Harris is scoring 20.5 points per contest himself, 7 rebounds, 3 assists for Toby. Now the Sixers are holding their opponents to just 107 points per contest when they travel. They're taking on a New Orleans Pelicans team who's having a tough time staying healthy. Josh Hart is still out. Ingram, Ball, and Lewis, they're all listed as questionable. And of course, the Pelicans are on a 2-game losing streak, and they also dropped 4 out of their last 5. That is certainly not a good time to be getting, cold here going into a contest with a team like Philadelphia. Now, the Pelicans' main problem is, well, they've been really poor defensively. They're dead last in the NBA in defending the 3-ball. They're also in the bottom 5 in points allowed. New Orleans gives up 116 points a game, and they let their opponents make nearly 40% of their 3-pointers. Now, total-wise, 4 out of New Orleans' last 5 got over the line, 21-6 to the over at the Smoothie King Center. Meanwhile, in my humble opinion here, Joel Embiid could very well go for 40 points here tonight for Philadelphia. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia 76ers minus 6 in the over 228.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Bulls versus the Hawks, 8 p.m. East. The Atlanta Hawks are the 2.5-point favorite, totals 227 flat. The Hawks are coming fresh off an 18-point beatdown to the Memphis Grizzlies. Atlanta also may have to go to work without one of their best rebounders. Actually, it is their best rebounder and one of the best rebounders in the entire NBA, Clint Capella. He's questionable. Danilo Gallinari, he's also been listed as questionable for Atlanta as well. The Hawks have been getting off to very slow starts at the State Farm Arena this season. They're in the bottom 10 in the NBA in first quarter scoring at home. Now they're taking on a Bulls team who, believe it or not, they're amongst the best road covering teams in the entire association. Chicago's an impressive 18-6 against the spread when they travel. That's good for 75% in that particular category. The Bulls have also been playing some pretty good basketball just in general lately. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak, and they've successfully covered the number in their last 5 straight. Now, Zach LaVine, he's having a great year. He's scoring 27 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, newly acquired Nick Vucevic is having an immediate impact. He's scoring over 22 and a half a game with Chicago, along with double-digit rebounds. Now, the Chicago Bulls, they tend to score a lot of points on the road. They're in the top 3 in road scoring. They're also in the top 3 in road offensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, 3 out of the Bulls' last 6 did get over the number, throwing out the Indiana game. Chicago's officially 13-11 to the over as the official road team as well. Meanwhile, Atlanta's gone 70% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Chicago Bulls plus 2.5 in the over 227. Next matchup, it is going to be Spurs versus the Nuggets, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The Denver Nuggets are -8, totals 220. Now, the Nuggets' second leading scorer, Jamal Murray, he may have to sit this one out here this evening. Murray's been listed as questionable. He's currently battling a knee injury. And despite a really impressive stretch of basketball lately, the Nuggets overall still struggle to get the job done against the number at home. They've covered in only 12 of 26 home games. Now, they are taking on a Spurs team who, despite their significant struggles lately, they still find a way to get the job done when traveling. The San Antonio Spurs, they're currently 12-8 straight up away from home, 65% against the number in those road games. The Spurs have been playing really good defense on the road as well. They actually rank in the top 10 in fewest points allowed per contest. And they're also in the top 5 in defending the 3-ball on the road as well. DeMar DeRozan is scoring over 20.5 points per contest, 4 rebounds, 7 assists for the forward. Meanwhile, DeJounte Murray is scoring 15 points a night himself, 6 rebounds, 5 assists for Murray. Now, San Antonio, they're a pesky team, and for as decent as they've been on the road here, 8 points really doesn't seem like too much of an ask. I think they can keep it within the 8. Now, total-wise, 3 out of San Antonio's last 4 got over the number, 6 and 3 to the over in their last 9. Meanwhile, 2 out of Denver's last 3 got over the total themselves, 16 and 10 to the over as the official home team. I'm going to lean toward the San Antonio Spurs plus 8 in the over 220. Next ball game, it is going to be Hornets versus the Bucks, 9 p.m. Eastern tip. The Milwaukee Bucks are -8.5, totals 224. Now, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's still questionable for the Bucks, battling a knee injury. And, well, I'll tell you what, Milwaukee doesn't fare all too well without the Greek Freak. 0-3 against the spread in their last 3 contests. They're also just 2-7 against the spread in their last 9, and of course that includes some games with Giannis playing. Milwaukee's got a fairly lackluster record against the spread this season. Out of their 51 ball games on the year, they've successfully covered the number in just 43% of them. Now, Milwaukee's struggled significantly on the defensive end of the court. They're in the bottom 10 in defending the 3-ball, dead last in the NBA in third quarter points allowed. They're taking on a Charlotte team who's won 6 out of their last 9 ball games, and they also went 7-2 against the spread during that span. Now, the Hornets play really good defense late in games. They're in the top 5 in fewest third quarter points allowed. They're also in the top 10 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed as well. Terry Rozier, he scores 20 points per contest, 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists for the guard. Meanwhile, Devontae Graham's getting nearly 14 a night himself, 2 rebounds, 5 assists for Graham. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the scoring in this one, Charlotte's 16-12 to the over on the road. Milwaukee 16-9 to the over at the Fiserv Forum. I'm going to lean toward the Charlotte Hornets plus 8.5 and the over 224. Next ball game, it is going to be Wizards versus the Warriors, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. The Golden State Warriors are -4.5, totals 238. Despite a real bad stretch of games for Golden State over the past few weeks, they're coming fresh off a nice 1-point victory over Milwaukee, where they dropped 122 points. They also play really well at the Chase Center, 15-9 straight up as the official home team, 14-10 against the number in those home games. Steph Curry scoring almost 30 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists for the NBA champ. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins is getting 18 a night himself, along with 4 rebounds and a couple assists as well. Now, the Golden State Warriors, they do things on both ends of the court really well when they're home. They actually score nearly 116 points a game in that particular category. And they're also in the top 10 in defensive field goal percentage at home as well. So like I said, doing things well on both ends of the court when they're home. Now they're taking on a Washington team who's really struggled as of late. They lost 7 out of their last 10, and they, really find difficulty winning games on the road. Now, out of 24 road games, they got the W just 8 times. The Wizards' biggest problem is, they just give up way too many points. I know that sounds simple, but it's just the way it is. They give up way too many points. They're currently dead last defensively in points allowed, bottom 5 in defending the 3-ball. They allow nearly 120 points a game, and they're letting their opponents hit 40% of their 3 balls against them. And of course, can't forget about this. One of the league's most prolific scorers, Bradley Beal, he's been listed as questionable for Washington. Now, total-wise, this number is insanely high for the way Washington's been scoring lately. 6 out of their last 8 stayed under the total. They actually scored 106 points or less in 6 out of those 8 ball games as well. Washington is officially 15-9 to the under when they travel. Meanwhile, Golden State on the other side, they are 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Golden State Warriors -4.5 and the under 238. With that, guys, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Rockets versus the Clippers, 10 p.m. Eastern showdown. The Clippers are laying 12 points at home, numbers 222. LA's on a 3-game winning streak, 80% against the spread in their last 10. The Clippers have also played really well at the Staples Center, 20-8 straight up as the home team. They actually rank first in the NBA in shooting the 3-ball as well. LA makes 42% of their 3-pointers. Now, Kawhi Leonard's dropping 25 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists for the NBA champion. Meanwhile, Paul George is scoring 22 points per contest himself, 6 rebounds and 5 assists for George. The Clippers are an incredible defensive rebounding team as well. They're in the top 3 in defensive rebounding. They're taking on a pitiful Houston organization who lost 5 out of their last 6. And they're going to have to go to work here tonight without John Wall, Eric Gordon, and Daniel House. Now, those guys have been out for a while now. Nothing really changing with them. The Rockets are currently 23 games below 500, and they simply cannot rebound. They're dead last in defensive rebounding, bottom 3 in offensive rebounding. They also can't win on the road. Just 7-18 straight up when traveling. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Houston's last 3 got over the line. Los Angeles saw 5 out of their last 9 get over the total themselves, throwing out the Phoenix game. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers -12 and the over 222. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. Give me Orlando +4.5, under 219. Minnesota +8.5, under 228. Memphis -1.5, over 216. Philadelphia -6, over 228.5. Chicago +2.5, over 227. San Antonio +8, over 220. Charlotte +8.5, over 224. Golden State -4.5, under 238. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 3-1 in our last 4 board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also 3-0 in our last 3 $1.99 daily best plays on my Patreon site as well. Give me the LA Clippers -12 and the over 222. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into some YouTube shout-outs to our top 10 YouTube commenters over the past couple of days or so. Shout out to Pat's Innovations and Supplies. Shout out to Pogs Luminog, Amari Cephas, Rajan Summerall, Robert Scott, Brian Hendo, White Panda, Mike Ernest, and last but certainly not least, gotta give a shout out to mi buen amigo de Chile, Francisco Gutierrez Munoz. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do get a package here today, just keep in mind you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of April. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.